Yo, yo, yo. This is Candy Bee Knittin'. I'm Candy Bee. I be knittin'. And I thought today, since y'all have become my accountability buddies, if you will, I would catch y'all up on what I've been knitting for my children. I have this plan to knit a few things for my kids over the holiday season and hopefully by the end of the year, because it kind of ties into some year-end goals I have. And so a few of these projects you've seen before, and I'm going to show you where they're at right now. And I think I'm going to go in order of closest to being done to done, or least close to being done to completely almost done, maybe. So we're going to start with these buddies. These are the Willa and Ellis Lions by Kira Wharton, aka at Scrapmaster Studio. And the yarn is Kim Dye's yarn. I got a kit for this at the Shenandoah Fiber Fest, and this is her DK base, and the kit comes with the DK for the body. You hold this Surrey alpaca together with this slub yarn, and then you get 2 balls of yarn because these lions also have tiny sweaters that they wear. And I always had this suspicion that I don't think I'm cut out for knitting toys, and this has confirmed that for me. And there's nothing wrong with the pattern, nothing wrong with the yarn. The pattern is very beginner friendly. It lays everything out for you. It's like 14 pages long, and I'm following it to the T. But I am not a do this, tie this, and then do this kind of person. Like, I like to knit larger, more like long-term type projects, and this is something that I probably could have done one of these in a weekend, but it's become like, has to be month. Well, Shenandoah Fiber Fest was in like September, October, and now we're in December. And today, for instance, I sewed the ears on the heads, and I made I-cord tails, and I started to do the faces and then rip the faces out. So very slow going for me. I'm going to give my children very specific instructions to be very gentle with these fellows, because I'm not doing this again. I'm on the faces, as I said. I'm just going straight through the pattern, and I started to do the faces. They say to use thread or black yarn. I started to do it with crochet thread. I didn't like the way that looked. I need to look through, and this is a Knit Picks Curio crochet thread in black. I need to look through my stash and see what other black yarn I have. But I do have this sock yarn from Hobie that I just got, that I've never used before, but I'm thinking it might be better because it has like that toothiness. And so the problem with the crochet thread, the eyes were coming out very, very small. And literally this is what I was working on right before the video started. And so just chugging along, man. I still have 2 eyes, got the muzzle to do, got a little pink nose. I have some scrap sock yarn here that has a lot of pink in it that I'm going to try to use for the nose. Then it's 2 tiny sweaters with pockets and a tiny little hamster that goes into the pocket when you're done. And yeah. I'm thinking what I might need to do is like turn on like Home Alone or Muppets Christmas Carol, like a classic Christmas movie, and it might help me kind of chuck through this, because I usually when I'm knitting, my knitting is my hobby and I'm knitting for fun, and so I just kind of have YouTube videos going on in the background. But I think I need something engaging and fun to watch while this is the background situation. Hopefully this week maybe I'll be done with these and my children will be very happy. I'm trying not to stress myself out, because I know the pattern is written as seamlessly as possible, but you're going to always have places where you have to cinch things up and neaten things up, and I did have to sew the ears on and sew the tail on, and that's not my strong suit either, but I did the best I could, and I think I did a pretty good job. We'll see when my children actually get them and they start to rip them apart and try to test them. But these are 2 toys for a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, so I'm trying not to stress myself out too much. If they don't have faces, I don't think that's going to be the end of the world, because the vibes of the lions are very much implied. They're going to have tails, they're going to have manes. I think the lack of faces might be better than a creepy face. You know, if I really jack up the embroidery job, and this is my first time trying to embroider anything ever. So that's where I'm at with these. It's kind of a bummer. Maybe like I can find like a pattern book that it's all just like pill shaped little like weeble wobble type characters, but doing the arms and the legs, it's been pretty tedious. But if you like making toys and you like knitting toys, I would recommend the pattern. Like I said, it's very well written. It's very much a beginner friendly pattern. The most complicated thing is maybe SSKs and knit two togethers. I was kind of concerned because there's a lot of yarn overs in the pattern, but it doesn't leave very many holes. I'm thinking because of the gauge. It's the body is DK weight on 2.5 millimeter needles. And so I think it looks good. I think the pattern's well written. I just don't think it's my bag. The next thing that I wanted to knit for my children, that is kind of time sensitive. We are in December 2023. I say it's getting colder outside, but today it was like 60 degrees outside. So welcome to Virginia. I want to knit them winter gear. I was hesitant when I first started knitting to knit for my kids because, they're children. They can be rough on their things. They can be forgetful with their things. But it's been quite some time. I say that, but time to children is very relative. It's been a year. My daughter's been asking me to knit her some mittens. And a year is a very long time for a child to be focused on exactly what they want. And I tried to knit her some mittens last year, and we just couldn't find what would work for her because she's quite picky with her. It can't be too itchy, it can't be this, it can't be too that. And so this spring, Knit Picks was having a sale, and I bought. I was buying some blank yarn, but then I saw they have their Mighty Stitch yarn, and it's 80% acrylic, 20% superwash wool, and it's worsted weight. And so I was like, this might be something that's gonna be good to have on hand for knitting for my kids. And this actually did not come from Knit Picks. This came from a thrift store, and I just happened to have this in my stash. But my older daughter, my 7-year-old, her favorite colors are teal, purple, and white, or at least they were teal, purple, and white. And my younger daughter likes purple, or at least did like purple. And so I ordered 2 balls of teal, 2 balls of purple, thinking, or at least 2 balls of Marina is the teal color base, and eggplant is the purple, thinking that I could either make, since my older one likes teal and purple, I could make one big thing for my older daughter, or make 2 separate things, one in teal for my older daughter and one in purple for my younger daughter. And so I ordered this, and then we got closer and closer, and winter's coming up, and I'm like, I can do those mittens I was thinking about. I was thinking about sweaters and this and that. And so these are World's Simplest Mitts by TinCanKnits. I'm using the TinCans app to make these. And like I said, this light teal is the Marina color base in Knit Picks Mighty Stitch. And then the purple is the eggplant color base. And so I have a purple and pink for my 4-year-old. I have finished the teal or the Marina and spruce for my older daughter. And now I'm working on, I just have the cuff done of the 4th mitt, which is the 2nd mitt for my older daughter. And so I kind of talked about this out of order, but basically what happened was I'm also making them hooded cowls that I'll talk about in a second. And so I kind of had to be smart about my yarn choices. And so I finished the hooded cowls first, which we're going to get to those next. And was kind of nervous I wouldn't have enough yarn. Especially, I was thinking at first I was going to use the purple with the teal, but it looked really funky. Like, I was knitting on it and I picked it up and I was showing my daughter. I was like, what do you think of the teal and purple together? And she was like, nah. And I was like, I don't think so either. I think it's because it has this shine to it. There's something very it's almost too aggressive. And it reminds me of like, Charlotte Hornets or something, like a 90s starter jacket. So it was a little too much for her. But my younger daughter does like pink. And so I did the pink and purple for her. And this pink is just a ball of scrap yarn I got from a thrift store. And it looked to be kind of like a superwash DK situation. And so I held this double to make the cuffs. And ideally, I do buy a lot of yarn from thrift stores. And this was unlabeled. Ideally, if you do buy yarn from a thrift store, if you need to figure out what it's made out of, you can look up a burn test. And basically, you literally take a piece of the yarn, set it on fire, and see how it reacts. And animal fibers versus cellulose fibers versus acrylic fibers react differently. And if it's a blend of them, you can use your skills of observation to figure out which one it is. And then, also probably a good idea to do a swatch and wash the swatch and see how the swatch reacts to hot water, see if it's going to felt, etc., etc. That being said, do as I say, not as I do. I just looked like a DK weight to me, looks like a superwash, maybe a hand dyed superwash DK yarn to me, so I held it double. It goes well with the worsted. I'm moving on with my life. It's mittens for a 4-year-old. I'm not going to overthink this. I am doing the children's size, and you'll notice I said that they were done, but they don't have thumbs on them yet. And what I'm going to do is, what I was saying with the toys, I don't like to do a lot of like, do this, then do this. So I knit the full body of the mittens, which takes me about 2 lunch breaks to finish a whole mitten, 2 30-minute lunch breaks, so an hour to make a mitten. And then I'm going to sit down in one sitting and do all of the thumbs, because the idea of stopping and then doing the thumbs, and then I'm going to weave in all my ends at the end, because that's the way I prefer to do it. I like to be in the mindset that I am weaving in ends today, and that's what's happening. And so, like I said, put on a good Christmas movie, sit down and eat my lunch, whatever, weave all of these in. But I did all of these in the children's size. I do have a 4-year-old, so she's right on that cusp of being a toddler. And I did initially cast on the toddler size for her, and it fit. But she is going to kindergarten next year, so I have that sense that she's gonna like hit that growth spurt where she's like, it's like, no, I'm not a baby anymore, I'm a big kid, And so I think that'll be easier for her to have child size mittens. And the other thing is, this is a free pattern, and it is it's world's simplest mitt. So there is no left or right mitten. They're both knit the same exact way. And so the idea being, if I knit 4 child size mittens, it doesn't matter who gets what mitten. And if you have a lot of young people in your life, you're probably a psychic, and at some point one of these mittens is going to go missing. Someone's going to unravel one of their mittens. Someone's going to give their mitten to their best friend. Someone's going to stump one of these mittens into a mud puddle. And so my imagination is telling me, hey, if that happens, I'll just grab another ball of worsted weight yarn out of my stash and knit another mitten. And so my idea is that eventually, like, we have a basket at our front door of all of like just random winter wear stuff. If the kids are cold, they can throw on random things. And so eventually there might be a basket of mittens that are all different colors. If I have red yarn, they're getting red mittens. If I have pink yarn, they're getting pink mittens. And so because there's no left and right, because they're all children's size, they're all the same size, it's not going to matter. And my kids are pretty quirky when it comes to colors, so I don't think they'll mind if one of them is pink and purple, one of them's purple at the top, pink at the bottom. I do like the idea, you could do like the thumb in a contrasting color. I was on Instagram the other day, and this guy was wearing these white mittens, and the thumb and the tips of the mitten were orange. and he had a safety eye right here, so he literally had like goose mittens, and I was just like, that is so cute. And so I'm like imagining different color combinations that could, you know, imply an animal of some sort, but I think that's a really cute idea that you could do with these mittens. And so I'm just going to keep it really scrappy. This yarn is pretty slick, and so I am concerned that, you know, I really need to secure my ends really good in here. And so my kids are very good at finding the weak points in my knitting, and so hopefully, you know, they don't unravel one, but if they do, I'll just whip them up another one with whatever colors I have. I'm going to introduce the hoods I made for them, because I think that that goes with the story I'm trying to tell. And so I was like, I'm going to do the mittens, but I'm extra, so I have to do like a matching set for them. But I was just like, right now, my 4-year-old has a scarf and a hat, and her putting on that scarf in the morning just creates so much drama. I don't know if y'all know any toddlers, but she has to have the scarf on just right, and she, you know, it needs to not fall to the side, but she wants to do it by herself. And so I thought the simplest solution to that issue was to make them like hoods. And so they have something that protects their neck that's not going to fall off, and, you know, there's a hat piece involved. And this is the hooded cowl by Rosann Fleischauer, and it's a free pattern for Earth Yarns. And so this one is for my 4-year-old. It's got the purple with the pink on the edge, and I did the pattern calls for you to pick up this edge and do ribbing, but that makes it more of like I was thinking of a balaclava at first for the kids, because, you know, their faces might get cold or what have you, but also kids, you know, they don't like too much fuss around their faces, and, you know, we're drinking cocoa, we're eating candy canes, you know, a lot of fabric around the face might not be great for that. And so I just picked up a simple I-cord, and I thought that also helped with, like, you know, this kind of like a drapey, slouchy fabric, and I think that that complemented that really well. So this is for my 4-year-old. It's got the eggplant, and then it's got this mystery pink yarn here, and this took nearly just about 2 balls of the yarn. I only had like a small, like maybe like 30 to 40 grams left for the mittens, and so that's why I was like, let me introduce some contrast color here. What I did for this, since this pattern is one size fits most for adults, it's knit on size 7 for the ribbing and size 8 for the body of the cowl, or the top of the hood, or what have you. I just went down a needle size, did this in size 6, did this in size 7, and so it makes the fabric that much smaller. And then when I got to the body and I got to a certain point, I just put it over their heads and saw if I had enough space to really, you know, it's enough space that it's not tight on them, but also enough space that it's actually going to keep them warm. And so, but it does have more of like a slouchy fit on their heads. I was going, and you could kind of reverse engineer this. It's a free pattern, so you don't really have to. But at first I was like, oh, I can knit something like this. You just knit this in the round and then knit this flat, and then the top is seamed. But I do like this pattern because there is some extra shaping, like down here. There's some shaping here that makes this edge nice and round. There's some shaping in here that brings this and softens this point so it's not super rigid. And there's some directions on the hooded area to kind of bring in this point a little bit, and so it's a good starting off point if you want to knit something like this. The other change that I made on this one, they want you to graft the edges together, and I always like to knit things to the pattern because I'm like, okay, maybe there's a reason for this. There's got to be a specific reason why they're asking me to do this. But I'd really like to do a 3-needle bind off. And so for the first one, I was like, let me just follow the pattern and do what they're telling me to do, which I did. And then for the second one, this is my 7-year-olds, and they actually came out to be pretty much the same size. And so I did a 3-needle bind off, and I actually think I like the look of the 3-needle bind off a lot better. But they're pretty much interchangeable in my opinion. I think maybe the graft, which graft aka a Kitchener stitch, is a little bit more like definitive. Stop now. But no one's going to be looking at the top. Well, I'll see the tops of their heads because my kids are short, but I'm not, no one's going to care. These do need to be blocked. The other note though is because I did the I-cord instead of the ribbing, there is going to be this folding of the stockinette fabric, which I don't mind because it's supposed to be kind of slouchy, kind of hipstery-ish. And you can kind of see how this shaping here makes a little point at the front, so it's like a little elfy, I guess you could say. I like it a lot. I think the kids are gonna like it. I think it's gonna be something easy for them to throw on. It's in colors that they like. Pretty easy knit for me. I just knit these over my my lunch break. Superwash yarn with the acrylic superwash blend, so I'll be able to throw these in the washing machine in the dryer because the kids with their runny noses and all the Christmas treats and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't get terribly cold here, so it's not like my kids are deprived because they don't have a lot of winter gear. It's mostly for fun for them because kids at this age, they watch Sesame Street or whatever, and it's like, oh, put on your coat and your mittens before you go outside. And so they just kind of groove on accessorizing as much as possible, even though the thing about Virginia is, like, if you whisper the word snow, the schools like literally shut down. Like if it's too cold outside, the kids don't go to school. And I'm not even like being facetious or anything like that. And so in the mornings, it might be 20-30 degrees Fahrenheit on like the coldest day. But they're literally outside for 5 minutes going to the car and then 5 minutes getting out of the car, and then we get home and we go inside. Maybe it'll snow once in February and they'll go outside, they'll look at the snow and then be like, I'm cold, can we go back inside? And so this is mostly just to get cute pictures and for my kids to play dress up and for them to probably fight. My older daughter, who's 7, has already told me she said she still likes teal. This is okay, but yellow is now her favorite color. And of course that means my younger daughter, now yellow is also her favorite color. Not sure what's up with that, but I think they just like getting hand knit stuff, and they think it's pretty cool. Like if I'm knitting something, they're like, who's that for? Oh, is that mine? Oh, what color is that? Cool, can I touch it? And so a lot of exciting stuff. This is going to be really good for them, and I think going into the new year, it's going to be one of my plans, because previously I wasn't, I said I don't really want to knit much for the kids because, like I said, they do lose stuff. They can be a bit destructive sometimes, but it's nice that they do get excited about it. And I believe as they get older, they'll become more, careful with their things and things like that. And also, before I started knitting, people make you handmade things, and this happens when I gift things to people. They're like, oh, it's so nice, I don't want to wear it. But now that I've been making for a while, I definitely want people to use the things that I make. Today I saw there's a hole in Mr. Rouloud's hat that I need to fix. But it's great that he's been wearing it so long and loved it so much that, it's showing the signs of wear. And I think that's pretty cool. And 2, things in stores are not terribly well made. Like I used to think handmade stuff was kind of more delicate, but that's quite the opposite compared to the things that I find on the racks in stores. Like I buy my kids clothes and they've busted holes in them, within weeks of getting them because, the seaming isn't that great. And at least with them, this, I have like the impetus and the ability to patch things up if they do get holes in them. And if they get dirty, they get dirty. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. It is what it is. It's not like I keep my clothes 100% clean, and I continue to knit things for myself. And so the other thing about that is going into the new year, I'm working more and more with my hand spun, and I'd like to continue that trend, but I also still have a lot of commercial yarn to work through. And I think making stuff for my kids is going to be a good way to work through that stuff and make them clothes that are going to last them, things that are going to last them, things that may not physically last, but they might grow up and have fond memories of, oh, wow, my mom used to knit for me, and oh, You know, that was pretty cool. Or, you know, I just remember this. I remember a store-bought crochet sweater my grandmother bought me when I was like 11, and that sweater, you know, meant the world to me. And it was store-bought crochet because, you know, my grandmother means a lot to me. And so, not just making things, but hopefully making memories. So do you have young people in your life you knit for? Do you think about, oh man, what if they, you know, lose this on the bus? You know, is that making you a little nervous? Do you pick and choose what fabrics you use with them? Do you use I remember when I literally first started knitting, the first thing I knit for my daughter was it was a really small, probably too small for her head, knit cap out of silk yarn, because I went to the thrift store and just had a bag of yarn. It just happened to be silk yarn, and someone was like, I would never knit silk for a child, you know, it's too decadent or something. Let me know. Let me know just in general what young people you have in your life. I hope you're enjoying your December so far. Very soon I'm going to be doing some wrap-up type style videos, looking back on the year, looking back on how much I knit, some of my goals going into the new year, etc., etc. So hopefully that appeals to you in some sort of way. If that does, I really hope y'all subscribe so you can find out when those videos are coming. You can also follow me at Rulude on the Instagram. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, do all of the YouTubey things. You can email me. You know, I know commenting can be weird, but if you ever want to start a dialogue with me, it's candibknittin@gmail.com, and I'd be glad to answer your emails. Until next time, peace.